speak after an amazing university student, an awesome anchor on TV, a mother who has made me tweet Kidero and tell him, by the way, get a class. Because I don't think you should pay 200 million for justice, but there you are, get a good lawyer. And I realized that really my job is to probably go back to basics. Yeah? And for me, it's that money story and how I'm going to get there and how it's everybody else's fault and why can't I just get one government tender. Incidentally, a challenge for you. You know the one story we don't tell in media? That whole I need one government job also bankrupts a lot of people. Because people cannot wait 90 to 140 days to get paid. We need to tell that story because there's a myth. But there you go. First things first, sign up for Centonomy. I'm going back to basics. I'm not going to tell you about entrepreneurship. I'm not going to tell you about saving 50 shillings a day. Number one, sign up for Centonomy if you haven't. And it's just that if I had, you told me you're 23, I hated you on sight, which means you've just literally replaced the girl who was in my class who was 24. When I did Centonomy, there was a young lady who was 24, and we all kept looking at her like, what would we have been if we had actually learned to manage and think about money at 24, 25. Sign up for Centonomy, get on to Compass Edition, get on to the regular one. Create your dreams in writing. Oh, I can never say this enough. There's the stuff in your head and then there's the stuff you write down. When you write it down, and if you do like me, I have a scrapbook. You can buy one from Textbook Center. And I go through magazines and I cut out what it is I want. And then I look at it periodically. You begin to ask yourself, is it going to happen or are these just nice pictures? And for me, a lot of us talk about it, dream about it, whine about it, have 3 drinks and talk about how Asheke just got lucky. And anyway, Caroline is famous and there is no plan. Write a letter to your future self, not 5 years from today, not 4 years from today, 3 months from today. I use a small site called futureme.org. And every time I have to commit to something, I write myself a letter. And sometimes it's a paragraph. And it says, here you are, a month from the day we said we would. And then I hit send. And the beautiful thing about technology is it will email itself back to you in 3 months, in 4 months, in 6 months. How are you gonna ever get from here to there if you don't set yourself a goal? And the goal can't be in 5 years. It's just too far. It can't be in 10 years. Why don't you start with in 3 months? I love what you said about your daughter. Next open day, cakes will be here. Next open day is in 3 months. Can be done. It can be done if it's close enough for you to see it. But I think too often you're told, where do you see yourself in 10 years? It's just not, it's not okay. Your brain can't compute it. To go back to Richard, use your time well. You, Richard, and Beyonce get the same 24 hours every day. You, Richard, and Beyonce get the same 24 hours every day. She drops lemonade. Richard does his job and reads the news. And you still don't think you've got time to do what you got to do. So here's my mantra, only came up with it about 3 years ago. If it doesn't make me happy, if it doesn't make me better, if it doesn't make me money, I don't make time for it. If it doesn't make me happy, if it doesn't make me better, and if it doesn't make me money, I don't make time for it. And the problem with most of us, and the reason we've got these questions, where does Washeka find time to do Centonomy, Campus Edition, Centonomy, entrepreneurship, it's like, Kwani, how many hours does she have? You, Richard, Washeke, Beyonce, me. We all get the same 24 hours. What are you doing with yours? And I don't want to do this too often, but I'm going to use Richard again as an example. Yes, he has a job that requires him to be somewhere in the evening, but here's what he does, doesn't waste his morning. In my business, in our business, a lot of people are actually consigned to working for 4 hours a day. And then they're done with the rest of the day. my job was the flip side of yours. You know, you're up in the evening, I'm up in the morning. So I used to be up at 4, I'm in the station by 5, on air from 6 until 10. And the number of people who actually believed I used to go home at 10, I used to tell them to do what? I mean, for the first time in my life now, I have one title at work. I've always had 3. I've always had 3 dockets. I was the original triple threat. I was senior presenter, program controller, and group marketing manager. I had enough hours. I didn't have children. What else was I doing with my time? And when you're in your 20s, everybody under the age of 30, please put your hands up. Richard already told us he's 135. Here's the question. What are you doing with your time? All you have in your 20s is time and energy. All you got is time. You don't want to be working as hard as you should be now in your 40s. Please don't waste this time getting over a hangover. Please don't. I've always said I'm not smart, I'm not lucky. All I got was a job that didn't allow me to be up beyond 9:30. And because I had to be up at 4 every day, I was in bed by 9:30. So I didn't blow, number one, my money in a bar. So there isn't a successful restaurant or bar that can say, well, you know, hizo pesa za karo tulikunywa. No. I didn't waste my energy on anything that didn't bring me any value because I didn't have it. But I meet a lot of the people I started off this career with, and they still act like, well, something must have happened for her. You know, tulianza pamoja lakini. We all get the same 24 hours. It's just that for me, I worked Sunday to Sunday. From the time I was 26, that was 14 years ago, I worked Sunday to Sunday. I worked Sunday to Sunday for the longest time. For the longest time, I was in on Saturday, I was in on Sunday. Sunday, I probably was in from about 3 in the afternoon. It wasn't a full day, but because I produced Crossfire, you still had to be in, because it takes about an hour and a half to just calm down politicians so we can get on air. Okay? But I worked Sunday to Sunday. I didn't have to do it in my mid-30s. I didn't have to do it in my 40s. But now my system is engineered to do more with what I've got. If you don't teach yourself now to be able to just exert your own muscle, what, you're going to do it when you've got 3 children? You're going to try and do it when you've got less energy? And there's something my mother always says, if you don't teach yourself to go after the tougher things, mwili usahau kazi. Your body doesn't get accustomed to it, and then you start saying, mistaki, musinlete. So use your time well. You, Richard, Washeke, me, and Beyonce, we all get the same 24 hours. What's your excuse? Something you should remember not to do. Please pay your debts, and don't get into useless debt. I'm talking about credit card debt. I'm talking about rent arrears. I'm talking about even that chick who brings clothes to your office. The kind of dumb debt you get into in your 30s, your early 30s, your early 20s. And by the way, it's all about keeping up appearances. For people who don't care. Nobody remembers you. And I need to say this to the ladies. You, that hair, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Who deals in hair in the room? Quickly, before I get shot. There's no such thing as a Brazilian weave, by the way. But because you will buy the idea, because you're willing to spend stupid money on it, somebody's got to sell you the idea. Nobody cares. Don't get into debt and useless debt. And there's a difference between useful debt, and you'll learn about this in Centonomy, and useless debt. In your 20s, here you are. You're avoiding the chick who brought you clothes. You're avoiding the chick from the salon where you did your hair. You're already in debt. Debt, by the way, is crippling. It's the most crippling thing you can do to yourself. Because you can't move, you can't plan, you can't do anything. And the other thing you need to learn to do immediately. How many of you have graduated from a public university in this room? Pay off your HELB loan. Let me say this again. When I joined Radio Africa, I remember my CEO, 3 months in, said consolidated, pay it off. I paid off HELB in 1 year. Consolidated, paid off. I think the deduction is something silly. Well, at that time, it was like 1,500. And he asked, what is this thing that you're not getting rid of? And when it was consolidated by my financial controller, I think I was paying chunks of 5,000 bob every month. But I not only got a certificate, I got a citation and a trophy from HELB for clearing my HELB loan. If you don't teach yourself to pay off that, and the world we live in right now, and I don't know whether Washeka will actually tell you this, it will be very hard for you to apply for any other credit in this country very soon. And I agree with whoever's pushing that motion, because here's the thing. If we can't trust you to pay off the first loan you ever get, why should you get a credit card? Why should you get a mortgage? Why should you get a loan to buy a car? You've already proved to us that you don't care. But if you don't train your financial muscle to get rid of the things that stand in your way, you will never be able to apply for a business loan and honor it. You'll never be able to apply for a soccer loan and honor it. This is your first attempt at credit financing. Get over and done with it. And it says a lot about you. And I'm sure a lot of you are going to turn around one day and you want to sit on a board. Try and sit on a parastatal board and you have not honored your taxes or cleared your HELB loan. Hakuna malunenda. I think we actually did. There were some people applying to be chair of IBC, and the one thing they hadn't fulfilled was HELB. See you. See you. So can you not get into useless debt? Teach yourself now to clear what you have to clear. Are you still getting an advance at work? Do you have 5 children? What's your excuse? You're under 35, you're under 20, you're under 30, and you're still asking for an advance at work. Why? Because you can't even manage your salo. Why are you going to Centonomy then? Why? Why do you need an advance? School fees is not an emergency. It happens every 3 months, by the way. Every 3 months without fail. It's like Christmas. Apparently it's coming again this year. Okay? Why are you single, under 30, and still applying for an advance? You haven't taught yourself a small thing called, I will live within my means. And if you don't train yourself now, by the time you got wife and kids, and they fall sick, we're always laughing about the 8,000 bob cough. You hear it. How old are yours, Richard? How old are your kids? No kids yet, my friend. It's a good thing you've learned how to look after money, because they go, it's 8 G's. It is. And how many parents in the room? Yes. 8K. And you've got 2, 16. If you can't sort out your finances now, by the time they come, you will lose your mind. Do not apply for an advance right now in your life. You don't need it. At all, at all. Use Mshwari. I know saving is hard. 50 bob a day. 50 bob a day. I have a rule at the end of the day, all the transactions I've done, you know the way there's always a silly amount of money? It's like 132. That one always goes into Mshwari. What are you doing with it? It's a weird figure that's been left after all your transactions. I didn't have Mshwari. I had to save by willpower, and then I understood willpower doesn't work, so you get a standing order, which brings me to the next thing. Save more than you should. Save more than you can. The problem is when you're under 30 and you keep thinking, when I get a pay rise, when I make better money, then I'll save. 50 bob a day. I mean, I laugh about how much sometimes I find I have in Mshwari, because it's literally just money that I put there. It's 100 bob, it's 200 bob. Why is it that people think you cannot save 100 shillings? I don't know. I don't know who told you you've got to wait to save 10K, 20K, 30K. You can save, and this is a beautiful thing about technology. You can save with dignity. The thing that excites me about Mshwari is just that nobody needs to know. Yes, it's very hard for you to walk up to a bank teller and deposit your 500 shillings, and especially if you're a guy and that teller's fly. You know? You're sitting there saying, Nimeleta, and she's looking at you like, please, even the carbonated paper costs a bit more. But you can save. You can finally put money away, literally that nobody needs to know about, and you've got to teach yourself to do that. But also, have a grown-up skill. Create a standing order. Make sure that that money leaves before you do anything else. Make sure it goes where it needs to go before you do anything else. And for me, it's not even just saving. Can you sort out your rent first and your bills first and then live after? Because if you don't sort those little things out, this is how you end up asking for an advance. And you know, how many under 30 in the room? I hope it's half the room. Under 30? Yeah, it is. This is where you actually create the financial muscle. If you can teach yourself to be smart about your money now, there's no stopping you later. But the thing is, nobody tells you to get smart about the money now until the children come, until you get married, until there's two of you in the room, and then you're sitting there wondering how we're going to do this. Teach yourself not to go shopping when you're hungry, and please carry a shopping list. Oh, incidentally, it's a fact about women. If you go shopping when you're hungry, you're going to buy more than you need. It is a fact. Don't go shopping when you're hungry, and please carry a shopping list. Why don't you have a shopping list? If you don't exercise some restraint in what you're doing, I have a shopping list and I'm complete. I still meet people, grown-ups with big trolleys, who are wondering how come she has a piece of paper. If it's not on that piece of paper, it's not getting bought. My staff know it, my daughter knows it, my nephew knows it, everybody who knows, if it's not on that piece of paper, it's not getting bought. Don't go shopping without a shopping list. Could you please teach yourself the financial muscle of doing what you want? Look, I don't care if your shopping list is every flavor there is of, I don't know, cereal. Put it on the list. Put it on the list, because the more you do that, the more you actually are accountable to your money. The problem is a lot of people are like, no, but you know, I don't earn enough to do that, and I don't have enough money to do that, and I'll never get there, and Caroline can talk like that because she has, no. I've always had a shopping list. Have you met my mother? My mother had, what are they called? Organizers, those folders. And she had this post-it stuck on the first page of it that had a consistent tally of what we used at home. I meet grown-ups, people with families and children, who still don't know how many toilet rolls it takes to get to the end of the month. Are you for real? You want to be trusted with money from a bank. You want to be trusted with a big plan because you got this big idea to go into real estate, and you want an organization to trust you with the advertising budget in the millions or billions of shillings, and you still don't know how many kilograms of sugar you need to get to the end of the month. Get a grip. Like, seriously. How are you running your life like that? I always knew what I needed to get to the end of the month as a single woman. The maths doubles when the children come. And if you've got as many members of staff as I do, and they're lawyer, let me tell you, my bread went up, my milk went up, my sugar went up. But they know. They know. They know. I'm very clear. I don't take sugar. Nduku doesn't take sugar. Richard doesn't take sugar. Nobody. Actually, the staff take sugar, but they also know. Nimenunua kilo 3. Mukimaliza kabla ya mwezi jaisha, mujipange. I do not work outside of the schedule. There's no reason to. There's no reason to. BB, I don't take Blue Band. Nor does my daughter. But they know, I buy the big one. Mukimaliza kabla mwezi ishe, mujipange. There are things Madame does not buy in the middle of the month. At all. I have perishables and non-perishables. Non-perishables are standard. There's no reason to be told in the middle of the month, na akuna hapik. Why? Why? But because I have trained myself, my staff have had to train themselves. And they understand we don't roll like that. A lot of you think having a budget means you will look cheap and mean. It's just that I have a lot more money left over than you do. And yet, I have more money than you. I mean, get your act together. Get your act together. Retail therapy, girlfriend once again. You know when he didn't call, Umeni tupa, you told me you'd call me, and then you go shopping to make yourself feel better. Stop it. Stop it. Because the amount of rubbish women buy, and if you're married to her, by the way, just tap her gently and say, Caro is speaking to you. Because your emotional crutch is spending on yourself is silly. Create a budget for your fun money. And Washeke will tell you this when you're doing Centonomy. You need to have a budget for fun. Life is not supposed to be miserable. Budgeting is not supposed to mean that you live only on toast and, I don't know, on water. No. But it also means be clear about what it is. I have never understood, and I gotta love the hoteliers for this. There is a point in December where people will actually go and book into certain hotels for 35,000 shillings a night for a minimum of 5 nights. And you will pay it, 35,000 a night. And then we will see you tweeting in January about how things are tough. Yet you could have booked that same holiday for you and your family in July. You already know when your kids are closing school. It's not a surprise. It isn't. But you actually want to do 35,000 shillings a night. You, wife, 2 children, minimum of 5 nights. Who are you people? I still go on holiday, and I have a rule. We'll either go on holiday late November or the first week of December. Oh, by the way, kids don't know. They just know we went to Mombasa. That's it. All these other hang-ups are US. Tunataka kuonekana, tuweke kwa Instagram, tuweke kwa Twitter, tuweke kwa Facebook. This is all your nonsense. But the kids just know we went to Mombasa. I'm always in Nairobi over Christmas. It's a beautiful city. It's quiet. It has no traffic. I get to see everybody I want to see. And then I watch TV and I can see all of y'all like this at the coast. Getting no service. Lining up for breakfast. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. You've got to learn to plan. You need to define the difference between what you need and what you want. Okay? I have a friend who, from the time her children are about 10, very much like yours, they get a notebook, and every day is opened into 2. They're allowed to have money, but they must write whether they needed it or wanted it. It's okay. You can spend it. Did you need it or did you want it? That's all. Just write it down. Do I need a new handbag? Yes, my last one broke when I was coming through from Doha. So I need a new handbag. Do I need a $1,000 handbag? No, that's a want. Okay? There's a difference. Okay? Do you need, and women are bad. I need a new pair of shoes. I need a new dress. No, you don't, baby. You want it. And it's okay. Say so. Be honest with yourself about how you spend your money. Be honest. Do you need a new pair of shoes? No, you don't. You have about 30 pairs. Do you want another pair of shoes because the pink ones look prettier? Yes, you do. Just be honest. Learn to differentiate between what you need and what you want. Do you need a bigger house? Yes, if you had a 2-bedroom house and now you have 3 children plus your husband plus living help, yes, you need a bigger house. Do you need that house to be in Kitusuru? No, you don't. You want it. Learn to be honest. If you can just be honest about it, you'll be fine. Because every time you make a decision with your money, you'll be clear about it. But we've not learned to differentiate between need and want. Are you always trying to keep up with trends and fashions and buy things based on price and not quality? Stop it. Stop it now. I am not trendy. I was told by George Luther that the flyer you put in the paper had me in a purple blazer. I still have that blazer, and he laughed because I was wearing it yesterday. I've had that blazer for about 8 years. I've never been trendy. You'll probably see me in these goddamn sweaters forever and a day. I have 3 of them. They work. And nobody's ever met me and run away screaming, "Oh my God, she's in the same sweater again." I mean, really. I look good. I feel good. They work for me. I slap them on. But the problem, and some men are becoming dandies, a lot of us girls find that we don't have enough money left at the end of our greed. Squeezy kila mtu anavaa, na squeezy kila mtu anafanya, and everybody's got crochet hair, and you don't have the money for it. What are you doing? You've got to differentiate between what it is you really need and what you want. And there's nothing wrong with wanting it. The question is, can you sustain that lifestyle? I think Justin Bieber once said on an interview that he doesn't wash his underwear. He wears them once and throws them away. He can afford to. Can you? In fact, before you buy another pair of shoes, do you have enough good underwear? Don't consider going into debt for something that is showy. And for the generation in this room, for a wedding. Because here's the sad thing about y'all. Your marriages last about 6 months to 2 years. And you're still paying that loan off. If you can't afford the wedding, do it according to your budget. And by the way, the event planners here who will actually kill me as I leave out here, they're like, unatuharibia bizna. Don't go into debt for something like that. Either plan for it, budget for it, or let it be. Look, and Washeka will tell you, you know how we all are. We'll still come to your wedding and complain. Kwanza hiyo pilau kukwa. And the flowers are, and the wedding colors were, So what are you doing? No, what are you doing? I have a group of friends, and some of them work with us, and we actually have a rule now. We don't lend out our cars for weddings because we find it unfair that a man is required to put a woman in a car he can never afford for her to start their marriage. It is so unfair. It sets up such a rubbish expectation for that marriage, and we played a part in it. Baby girl, if you want him, take him as he is. But don't make him come and beg me for my car, get Mina's car, get I don't know Shafi's car. He puts you in it for like 6 hours, and by Monday, he's got to put you back in what he can deal with. But the problem is, the leather on Mina's X6 continues to haunt you as a woman. And one day, you go and find the person who can give you a ride in that car one more time. Baby girl, if you don't want him with what he can give you, let him be. Let him be. So for me, I do not, and I think there's about 10, 12 of us, we have a rule. We do not lend out our cars for weddings. We cannot allow any man to start that marriage on an absolutely inflated sense of what I can offer you. And there's a reason, by the way, they last 6 months to 2 years. Because the perception and the stage it's been set on is wrong. If you can't afford to get married like Kim Kardashian, and here's the difference, she doesn't pay for anything. Everything is endorsement, everything. And you got some guy raising money to the tune of 2 million to marry you. And by the way, if you find a woman dumb enough, wants to blow 2 meters on one day, leave her. No, really, leave her. Do you know what you can do with 2 million? If you find a woman dumb enough who wants to do that, you need to leave her quickly. Go find some chick who's got a plan for life. A wedding is not a plan for life. I'm sorry. And I sometimes have to be honest because I see it every day. I remember being about 28 and I was in rent arrears for about 2 months because a girl of mine, was getting married and I loved Emma to death. And like a year later, she tells me she's leaving and I told her, you're staying. I paid. I was like, well, you're going where? After what I went through so that you could have the wedding you wanted. Of course, 6 months later, she still left. But it's the first time I realized how dumb it was to put everything on an event. It just doesn't make sense. If you don't think you need a budget, please go to Centonomy. Just go. Because you'll have to write down everything you spend money on, including those useless samosas. If you still can you please carry food to work? I still don't get it. How do you eat out every day? I carry food to work. William Pike carries food to work. He's my director. He signs my salary check. And you, I sign your leave, and you eat out every day. And there's nothing wrong with eating out. Trust me, because when we eat out, we eat out. But daily? Why won't you carry food to work? I don't understand. You cannot eat out every day. You just cannot do it every day. If you do the math, it's unbelievable. And you still turn around and say, I need to be paid more. I can't do this. I can't save. I can't invest. Why? Because apparently, and my mother says this, and oh my goodness, you're recording, in Kamba she says, relax. You don't have to eat out every day, and especially when you're starting off. Finally, If you're not saving for what you need to do, if you're not taking a chance on what you want to do because you believe that your boss needs to pay you more, your employer isn't paying you enough, huku hatulipwi vizuri, watu wanafanya kazi in Safaricom na Radio Africa ndio wako na do, na watu wa Media Max sijui na nini. Let me tell you something, your boss owes you nothing. He owes you exactly what Francis Atwoli fights for every day. What is legally yours. You want more? Go make it. Okay? I think there's an entitlement in the country as a whole. It's not even a generation. In the country as a whole, that somebody else owes me. Somebody else has to make it possible for me to live my dreams. There isn't a salary anywhere that's ever going to make you live the life of your dreams. There isn't one. You were just told. He says, I use my time well. Richard told you, I am required in the evening. For the rest of the day, I chase what I need to live the life of my dreams. If I lived on my salary, I think I'd die. I remember the other day being stopped by a cop. This was about like 2 months ago, and it was because my tires were bald, and I came out and I was like, no, and then I looked at my tires like, they are bald. And then I remember I sat down and I said, okay, who needs an MC? Because that's what I need. I need one gig. Because my tires, on the other hand, cost an arm and a leg. And I had to replace all 4. Honestly, I wanted to cry. But if I have to sit there and say, if Radio Africa paid me a bit more, I wouldn't have to worry about my tires being bald. My CEO owes me nothing. He gives me medical, he remits taxes, and he pays me more than a Twali can campaign for. Everything else is up to me. And there's an entitlement in this country. I want more. I want a government tender. I want 30%. I want this. I want that. Go get it for yourself. Nobody's bringing it to you. Nobody. No, Ashake can talk about Centonomy. In fact, we know who her parents are, really. And I know her mother, every bit like my mother. I gave you an education. As my father likes to say, and I think there's a lot of parents who say this, me, I'm finishing my chums with my wife. You people better get your own. And I wish more parents would say that. So the people, because there is also a generation that's waiting for their ziks, as they call them, to chip, so they can take over. You're not owed. You are not owed a better salary, a better income than the one you're willing to fight for. I actually started worrying at some point as Nduko got older and Richard came into my life. Richard is my nephew, by the way. Came into my life that I wouldn't be able to do any more MC gigs. And literally because of what I make from that, I'm able to supplement my income in a big way. Then I realized, no, I just need to do breakfast gigs, not evening. I want to be home. I want to put people to bed. I had to rejig what I was willing to take. That's all. I had to change my approach. I wasn't going to go and ask anybody for more money. I also had to ask myself, what else can I do with my phone, with Wi-Fi, with my laptop? The amount of work I do sitting at home, in my bed, in my pajamas, is awesome. Currently, I've got a team that Washeka knows very well that is trying to literally work on the campaign that puts my Facebook page at 1 million likes. Now, that in itself is revenue. The amount of revenue I just make on my digital channel. Do I need to work on the smartness of the page, the counseling of the page, the monitoring of the page, on YouTube, on the whole works? Yes, I do. Can I do it? Yes. Are there days where I'm so tired I can't feel my small toe? Yes. But there is no way in the world the salary Radio Africa gives me is ever going to make for the work we do. And then can we also stop dissing people's work? You know what he does. He's told you his wife is in eventing. You know what Janet Bogwe is doing. You know she's got a contract with Resolution Health. Why are you bitching about it? She's not stealing. She's not made it a secret that she's working. She's endorsing a brand. Why do you all hate the idea of work? And why do you celebrate magicians? People who come up from nowhere with Lamborghinis. You've got to also change your mindset. There's a problem. There's a problem. Media is part of the problem. We don't tell the wealth story properly. I'm always having a fight with Gafla. There's a difference between rich and wealthy. So-and-so's wealth. Wealth is Manu Chandaria. It will live out generations. Rich, everybody's rich on payday, including my driver. Everybody. Everybody's rich. But we've got to change the narrative. Can we learn to celebrate people who are working, not magicians? People who can't tell you how they put up a building. People who can't tell you why they have that car. People who can't show you how they got to where they are. Why are you celebrating magicians, Houdinis? Her daughter is making cakes. Time and effort goes into that. Celebrate that. Not some kid who's got, a couple of skateboards and, I don't know, a fancy phone, and nobody can actually establish even how their parents got it. Can we stop celebrating corruption? You all get angry when you hear that 47% of Kenyan youth are okay with corruption. Excuse me, who raised them? Who raised them? We did. And I'll tell you why we are to blame. They know they didn't qualify to get into that school in Form 1. They know you bribed for it. They know they didn't qualify to get into university. They know that you bribed for it. They know that you can't afford the 2 cars we have with the salary mom and dad make. They know you're corrupt. So when they say that they're okay with corruption, why are you angry? Why are you angry? Who raised them? We did. And we raised them on a diet of Cerelac, KFC, and corruption. That's what we did. Can we stop celebrating nonsense among ourselves and in front of our children? I think Centonomy campus is huge. If I had a lot more dispensable income, I would actually sponsor a few. Just because it would be nicer for me if another generation of young people understand how to make money and not hope it will come to them. It is so hard to meet 26-year-olds who come to the office like, okay, my starting salary will be 200,000 because I need to live on Raptor Road. I'm like, Jesus, what are you smoking? Yeah, but even you know, I want to drive a car like yours. I'm like, you got to do time. You got to do time. And if you're not willing to do the time in chronological years, then do it in extra time. Take charge of where you want to be, because Uhuru doesn't owe you a living. William Ruto doesn't owe you a living. Caroline Mutoko doesn't owe you a living. And your parents don't owe you a living, they give you an education. Once they've done that part, everything else is up to you. Nobody's going to beg you to sign up for Centonomy. We can only ask you to. Nobody's going to beg you to use the hours you have properly. We can only tell you to. But the perception that something must be done for me to live my dreams has got to die today. I wish I had done Centonomy earlier. I wish I started saving earlier. I wish I'd started using my hours better earlier. And I wish I'd learned that every extra shilling I want, I can make it. All I have to do is put my mind and my energy behind it. I wish I had started earlier. I always say this, I can always make up for time, but you don't have to live my mistakes. I went before you so that your journey can be easier. Start today. Start today. If I hadn't had a child, I would not have gone to Centonomy. But when I found out that 6,000 bob can do something, I was like, okay, I wonder what else we can do with 6,000 shillings. Because there's a point in your 20s, in my case, my 30s, 6 G's what? And then you find out it's diaper money. And those of us who are parents in the room know that it's also shit money, because apparently you throw it away. You take out a diaper, you throw it away. You take out a diaper, you throw it away. That's 6,000 shillings every month. And if you've got a baby boy, you're in trouble because they're a little more regular. I'm looking at you because you keep nodding. Nobody owes you anything. This is your life. And I'll start saying this over and over again, and I'll end with the same thing. You, Richard, me, Beyonce, Washeke, we get the same 24 hours. What are you doing with yours? Thank you.